Is 99 the best limit for skills in OSRS? Is having a limit even that good at all? I don't really know, but I wanted to kind of talk through some of my concerns and things I like about the limit. As you probably know, every single skill in OSRS goes from 1 to 99. Past that, there may or may not be boosts that get you some advantage, but for the most part, they don't really do anything. You can still gain experience, but 99 is the point where you are generally considered maxed. And that's actually a really unique idea, I think, where a game like OSRS comes out and says, this is the max, 99, even though we don't actually have content for everything there. Like we see gaps right now in armor or weapons where you don't need 90 attack, you don't need 90 strength. So the fact that there's already a max, I think presents a very interesting challenge to game design. Obviously, one thing they can't do is what I think most RPGs or MMOs would do, is set a level cap. That would be the equivalent of what kind of OSRS does. Now, normally though, that's not an issue because it's not as hard-coded as the 99 limit is. I don't think they would ever break that limit. That's too classic to the experience. And I can't imagine the fallout of just telling someone who is maxed or has basically every single thing in the game, like, hey, guess what? We just added 10 more levels. That would never happen. But that means they don't have the possibility to do something like a level cap raise. So that means as we approach that level 99 goal as a player and as a community, just with more and more content, it has to become more and more compressed almost, because once we add 70, that raises the bar so much higher for 70 to 80 than 60 to 70 ever was. And that alone, that's just an interesting problem. We have to be very aware, because once something's out there, you can't really roll it back. And then that sets the bar for everything. It's almost getting to the point now, just looking at the combat skills, where you almost really don't need to worry about that though, because if anyone has 70 attack, why wouldn't they not just farm out the next few levels? Because that'd be probably easier than getting the money to get any weapon that's actually in that tier. So I just wanted to kind of reach out and see what people thought of this, because I really think it's an interesting problem. Because on one hand, it's not too bad because it is a exponential scale. So really those last 10 levels aren't that big of a deal. They're very difficult to gain, but ultimately you're not worried too much. And I think ultimately the player base has gotten used to that. They don't expect that just because you went from level 80 to 90 attack, you should instantly get a better weapon. Once you get up that high, it's really not that big of a deal. In fact, I would argue that level restrictions aren't so much about you unlocking the next tier as it is looking at things like PvP and having to purposely restrict yourself to be in certain tiers. Then that limits to what you have and what you can actually go out and use, rather than say, oh, just keep going until you get the next unlock. And then that makes this nice little limit of things like, oh, well, what quests can I do on my one defense pure? Stuff like that's very interesting to me. But just looking at some of the other problems of the 1 to 99 system is, just looking at with me and training stuff in Nightmare Zone, for example, I don't particularly love Nightmare Zone. I love the fact that it's AFK and I can do it while I edit. But I definitely get this feeling that because the limit is there, I feel like I have to hit the limit before I can really start. Please tell me, I think this is something that's shared by a lot of the OSRS community that, hey, for me, literally what it was is I wanted to go do Slayer, and I got the Slayer assignment boss in the wilderness killed, the Chaotic Fanatic. And I went, and it's like, oh, kill him with range. This is, pretty straightforward. And I could do it. I got my 3 kills. I set it really low because I didn't know I could kill him. It was fine. I didn't really take much damage, but man, was I missing. And I just got this feeling like, man, I could be doing Slayer right now, especially for something that requires a ranged approach. I'm not failing. But am I not just wasting so much of my time by not going and getting out 99 ranged, 99 attack, strength, and defense right now, and then actually trying a boss? Otherwise, what's going to happen? Sure, I might still be able to beat the bosses, but what's the point if it's going to take me 5 minutes longer to kill a boss? I could have just used that time now to have gotten those good stats and then gone. Or the same way with a bunch of skills. Maybe should I really be focused on training up, say, quests or random requirements to use some weapon, when I know the real thing holding me back is the fact that I need to be able to afford it, and I should go do that instead? I think that's a very common problem that most of the player base can relate to, that yeah, it's just easier to go get those last 92 to 99 levels than it is to start on anything else. Just kind of get it out of the way and be done with it. And I guess maybe that is just a good microcosm of my issue or like of it sometimes, is just that is it good that you can just be done with the skill in an MMO? In OSRS, it's not terrible, and I think for a lot of those skills like cooking, where you're not really looking for new content, you're just looking to get like all your requirements done, yeah, that's fine. But then when we look at stuff like attack, how can you really expand that? You can't really go much more in depth without reworking the combat system or even doing something crazy like adding another skill. Do you really want all of your progression to be capped? Otherwise, how do you add the stuff? Like, how do you add progression from there? You can still add gear and you can still add stuff to do, but then it feels more shallow because building your character is no longer a part of it. There's no question of, oh, I want to train Slayer, but I want to do it this way. And having all this plan, it's just, I already have max stats. I already know the gear I need. Combat is now pretty much solved outside of very rare bosses that are hard to execute. And I don't know if I have an answer for this. I still think I love the uniqueness that the level 99 max brings to OSRS, and I think it's so weird. I don't know how OSRS does it, but the fact that they made the grind enjoyable and the idea of maxing became the norm instead of the exception is ridiculous. I think if any other game tried to set out to do that and made 99 as a goal to reach, they would never succeed. But for some reason, I don't think OSRS meant to do it, but people started doing it, and it just kind of went on from there. So getting off combat a little bit, I want to talk about like 99 other skills. Like I said, with cooking, or I know from my own personal experience, like fishing, it was kind of cool. I did it all and I'm glad I got it done. And now the content I'm looking for in fishing is not for a new fish to catch, because I don't particularly enjoy the fishing skill amazingly, but rather now I want to be able to leverage my 99 fishing stuff. Like, okay, give me a quest where, you know, I can do it day one because I already got the 99 fishing skill. Or, hey, I really love perk capes, the level 99 skill capes and the perks they give you. I feel that they are very weak with the exception of a few, but those really interest me. Personally, I have my own suggestion that I would love to see like post 99 leveling, but not in like, oh, you get level 100, but instead just almost like these like master tier quests that grant various perks that are attached to your cape or something. That's a whole nother video. But I think this is something I really wanted to talk about for a long time, is even if I liked the idea of a max level in an RPG that I'm hoping is going to go for years, how do we add that progression? And how do we get this idea of you have to have 99 before you can actually start playing the game? There's a common joke I see all the time where it's like, okay, first thing, make your account, do tutorial island, max your account, and then you can start playing the game. And that's an extreme. But at the same time, it's kind of not. The reason I bring it up the maxing combat in particular is I know there was a lot of times where, not even for Slayer, but rather for questing, it was just, hey, this boss is hard. I have to risk a lot if I do it right now. Why not just completely over level the boss and just steamroll it? I'm gonna say that I think that actually hurt my experience, just because, yeah, I was good for Underground Pass, like not even on combat, like on agility. I already had like 80 agility when I went and did that. And that was probably actually gave me a better impression. But in a way, I missed that kind of experience of what Underground Pass was meant to be, which is extremely frustrating of an obstacle to overcome. But then I look at all these other bosses that are kind of cool and iconic, like stuff like Desert Treasure. I pretty much just plowed through pretty easily. Or man, let's say you go something crazy, like for some reason I love killing goblins in Longbridge. And then after I max out every single thing in combat, I'm free to play. I got 99 attack, 99 strength, 99 defense. My friend says, hey man, do you hear about this thing called questing? You can go kill that Draenor guy. You'd have to imagine that, you know, like why would you care? You probably roll up and just like two-shot him. So I wonder if there's not something lost in the progression because it just becomes this race to the end instead of actually leveling your account. And I don't know if there's like, maybe that's fine individually, but it's the progression methods. Like I know personally, I know people aren't a fan of the lesser death mechanics, but I know that was one thing I enjoyed was with a 1 hour timer to recover my items, I felt like I could actually risk a boss. Otherwise, I would just kind of, again, power level and then just go steamroll it, and I kind of hated that because then it gave me tense boss fights when I was actually risking stuff instead of, yeah, I'm not going to bother. And I hate to say that because it's not about me being like afraid I'm gonna lose everything, but it was just rather, no, it's just, I feel logical that, hey, you presented this problem, I can see the stats of this monster, why would I attempt it for anything less than absolute just 100% win. And I think that's really what gets to it. As I go on, I definitely notice that really it's the 99 I think about mainly is combat, just because some of the other skills, like, I believe they are made to be beaten or have stuff in place of them. Like, obviously, like Slayer is a good example where getting from 1 to 99 Slayer I think is great because you can do stuff post 99 Slayer and it's worth it. I look at other stuff like, why would I particularly do anything post 99 Herblore? The reward to Herblore, like for getting 99, the real perk, is you don't ever have to do that again. That's what I think the real thing is. And I don't know. How would you see post 99 leveling work? And I say post 99 leveling, not literally in leveling your skills, but some kind of progression that's specifically related to the skill. So I would relate to say a good example might be unlocking Slayer masks for after 99 Slayer. Like, you can do it before, but really I feel like it's meant for those upper tiers. Do you want something like that, like cosmetics? Do you think there could be some kind of like pseudo leveling? Like, personally, like, I love the idea of doing something simple like double the chance of your Slayer cape proccing to get the double task if you complete a quest for each of the Slayer Maskers, and they're basically get down to just go kill every enemy in the game. I would love like little things like that. Like, this is gonna take you a long time, you know, but it's gonna get you out and you can call yourself a master because hey, you literally slayed everything in the game, more or less. I don't know. Do you think like something like that could work in place of that? Do you not think it's an issue? Like, I think honestly, I bet a lot of players are kind of happy that they can check those boxes off. I'm gonna love it when I can check off agility. Like, I don't dislike agility, but knowing I got max agility would be such like just a yes, done. This has been such a huge benchmark for my account. And I think a lot of people judge that way. Like, what was your first 99? What did you get next? What did you get next? So I just kind of want to throw these ideas out there and just kind of get people's opinions because it's something I feel like isn't talked about a lot because it's so common in OSRS. But I feel like it's pretty damn unique compared to every other game I played. If only because it's an ongoing game. Like, I'm not gonna go crazy about the same thing and say, I don't know, Borderlands, because Borderlands doesn't have content still coming out. You know, like, I'm not gonna worry about cap because when I start hitting the cap, I'm kind of start being done with the game. OSRS isn't like that. In theory, I want to kind of hit 99 fishing and then it'd be cool to have a neat fishing quest. I'm not going to say no to that just because I already have 99. So it's just this weird little middle ground. So much of OSRS is exactly that. Like, just this weird middle ground that by all rights just should not exist, but it's that perfect storm where somehow it is. And it's something I want to talk about because it's something I think I hear a lot of different players' opinions on, just asking around when I go skilling, like why they chose the skill to grind that they are. And I would love to see more of the opinions on people who probably aren't doing that. Like, if you're a guy who only does PvP, or are you a PvMer that for some reason hates Slayer? Like, maybe you probably have a different opinion on getting 99s, or I'm sure there's a lot of people there who go the opposite approach where it's like, I got the stats for the weapon I need. At this point, if I play long enough, I'll get 99, but I'm not gonna rush it. I'm not gonna grind it. And I'm sure there's some people who don't really know there's a max, they just play the game. And I can't fault that either. I guess I'm curious on what everyone's opinion is. Hey, I'm Grant. I make these little discussion videos on OSRS every Saturday in my spare time with my views as a more casual player. A like and subscribe goes a long way to make sure these keep coming out, and if you ever want to, you can contact me in-game under the same name if you ever just want to chat or lend any advice. Hope to see you around the channel, and I'll be back again next Saturday.